and dig a little deeper with some legal experts. Harry Litman, former U.S. attorney and a former deputy assistant attorney general, and Jamil Jaffer, former Justice Department counsel and former chief counsel to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Gentlemen, thanks for staying late with us.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Harry, I want to start with you. I just want to take one step back, which is from where we started with the assumption, I think, that the president would have had to sit for a multi-hour videotape deposition when this all started. Is this at least a victory that he's submitting written answers to questions that one would assume his lawyers, regardless of what the president said today, looked at very carefully?
Oh, yeah. If it stops here, it's a big victory for him. They're written, so you get to think about them in advance. They're from the lawyers, so they are wordsmithed. There's no immediate risk of perjury. Now, I do think in any other situation, the prosecutor would have in mind follow-up questions.
Right.
And there's also the suggestion that there may be a little bit of an executive privilege fight. I think you can take Giuliani's statements to suggest they may be going that route for a couple of the questions. But if this is all Trump has to do to personally answer Mueller's questions, yeah, he's gotten away with a real victory. I agree.
Now, Jamil, I've seen other legal experts say there still could be a perjury trap here, because if you say something, whether it's written or an oral testimony, if it conflicts with what other witnesses have said, they could still try to bring you back. But as Harry suggests, it's so late in the game now, it would probably mean a subpoena that would take months and months to deal with. It seems like Robert Mueller's running out of time.
Well, you know, it's hard to know if he's running out of time. I mean, he can run this investigation as long as he wants to. Other special counsel investigations have gone on for years. I know people feel like this is coming to an end. The president certainly has said so repeatedly. That's certainly his preference. But we'll see. It wouldn't surprise me if Mueller came back with more questions. I think Harry is right that if the president gets away with just doing this, he's gotten off with it really easily. But I suspect that Bob Mueller is not quite done yet.
All right, gentlemen, we heard from the president in Garrett's report. Let's hear from a Democrat, Senator Richard Blumenthal, who said this about the president's comments.
His calling the answers easy tells me that it's either false bravado or self-delusion or simple deception. And all of it is dangerous to the president's case because he has to take these questions very seriously.
Harry, he's a partisan Democrat, but does he have a point that if you're submitting answers, say, to a teacher, you don't want to attack the teacher right before you turn in the test, do you?
No. He's a partisan Democrat, but a former prosecutor. I mean, this isn't really a Democrat or Republican issue. A, you don't want to attack the teacher, but also you want to take it very seriously, very carefully. And I actually think that has happened. And the president's suggestion that he breezily dashed them off is probably false. I also want to just second what Jamil said. Look, if there's even another charge that's brought and someone doesn't insist on going to trial, that's an 8 to 10 month process right there. I think it would be a mistake to assume that Mueller is about to close up shop.
So, Jamil, where's this all going then? You worked in the Senate. You understand, as Garrett suggested, that Democrats, they don't have power in the Senate, but they've got power in the House now. Is that really where the action is going to be, congressional investigations as the Mueller probe winds down?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. I think there's still some room in the Mueller probe left to go. We haven't heard anything about what Paul Manafort has told him, what Michael Cohen has told him, what Mike Flynn has told him. And Mike Flynn was in the campaign for a long time. He's been talking for a long time. We have no idea what he's been telling Mueller. And so that's, I think, an interesting thing, still shoes yet to drop. And then the Democrats will have tons of stuff. I mean, you know, when I was in the Bush administration, we spent a tremendous amount of time responding to congressional inquiries. That's going to be a problem for the new White House counsel's office as they get staffed up with the replacement. That's going to be a real challenge, too. And so, you know, if the president thinks he's done here, I think he's got a long ways to go.
Harry, what's your sense about whether, I mean, this started with allegations there was collusion with the Russians. They don't seem to have that evidence.
Well, that's going to be a big point, I think, coming in the next few weeks. And by the way, On Flynn, his sentencing is December 4th. We're going to learn a lot then. Manafort, another 10 days. He's apparently cooperated with some other charge that's coming. But this is exactly the point that we're at. If they do charge next Joseph Corsi, Roger Stone, that's exactly the piece that has been missing, the domestic side of the Russian charges. So if Stone and Corsi did know about that, Stone was in communication with Trump, we really might be going to the heart of the matter.
But Jamil, last point, I got 15 seconds. That doesn't necessarily prove the president did anything wrong, doesn't necessarily lead to obstruction of justice, as we heard at the beginning, might be where this goes.
No, that's exactly right. I think the real challenge is we have to look at what the charge that Mueller brought against the folks involved in the Russia deception stuff, and because he's shown that he can try and charge things that look like collusion without it actually being collusion. So there's a real challenge there, and we'll see what happens going forward.
Jamil, Harry, appreciate all the details tonight.
Thanks, Ed.